everyone, Elizabeth Warburton here with Property 118, and I'm very excited to be talking to one of the Property Investor Award winners of 2022. This is Manni Chopra from Chopra Property Group. Manni, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Elizabeth. Lovely to be here.
Great. Well, we're going to be having a little chat today about your property business and your investments, maybe from the beginning, maybe what life was like a little bit for Manni before she started in property, and then moving on to the award as we go. So I'd like to start more from the beginning. Did you always have that entrepreneurial streak in you when you were younger?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. We were just talking about it last week when I was in Singapore with my sister, who turned 50, and we were just kind of reflecting back on life. And yes, I think at about the age of 16 is when I started my first sort of entrepreneurial venture. Yes.
Amazing. And what was that?
What it was my dad had actually was going to collate a little directory of all the doctors uh, in the sort of specific region in Mumbai, which is where we were growing up. And unfortunately, he fell ill. And after, a certain while went by, we thought, look, I don't think he's going to be able to do this. So me and my sister took charge, and we then obviously went about publishing it and then distributing it to all the doctors and what have you. So it was just like a publication of all the medical professionals in a region. That was just a small part. And then there was something else to do with conference centers. So, when you run conferences, you have to place people in those various different companies and businesses who are looking for a staff, like just for the duration of the conference, like a weekend or what have you. So we started our own little recruitment company for that as well. So those are a couple of, mini ventures, as it were.
Yeah, incredible at 16. Wow. And I didn't realize that you grew up in Mumbai. At what point did you move over to the UK and start your business then?
So I moved to the UK in my early 20s, and it wasn't for any business reasons, but for personal reasons. So I had an introduction marriage, as they call it. And my husband, Romy, is a British Asian, born and brought up in the UK, in London. And that's how I came in with, after marriage, basically.
Wow.
Nothing that exciting.
Oh, that's super interesting. No, I think it's great looking at people's, history and journey from where they started to kind of how things develop and come into fruition, I guess. So at what point did you decide to delve into property?
Yeah, so when I came here, effectively, I did try various different things, as you
Yeah.
would. I did IT for the most amount of time, so I got qualified as I got a degree actually from Brunel University, got a first class honors, proud to say that, and then started working in just an IT job. However, it wasn't very fulfilling. I was started off as a developer, so like a tech person.
Mm.
But it just wasn't something that I think was my bag, I guess.
Mm.
Having done it for 10 years, I progressed from being more techy to more businessy.
Mm.
Around 2007, 2008, I was running a large team of about 16 analysts. And that's really when I sort of came into my own, I think, and I really, really enjoyed that process of leading the team and basically monitoring what they're doing and managing the deadlines for that team, in IT. And that's when the kids were also young. I had two kids, a girl and a boy. And it was sort of quite challenging with the whole, IT jobs, as you know, are very deadline orientated. I was looking for more of a part-time role when the kids were a bit younger. That wasn't quite possible with IT. And I thought, well, there's got to be something else that I'm going to do. And me and my husband sort of was, sort of scratching our heads, thinking, what is it that, would be giving me a bit of flexibility, but also replace my, my income from the job. We had a couple of properties we bought back in 2001, 2002 from like our income, so just like regular flats, which were just tenanted and they were just sort of running itself as it were. We had agents managing them and, they were running in the background. So when we sort of reviewed them a few years later, about 9 years, they'd gone up, 2 or 3 times in value. And we thought, well, if that's the case and we haven't done anything to it, we've just sort of let it run. That was when we got the idea of actually saying, well, actually, if you run it as a legit business and, put all our efforts into it, educate ourselves and do it that way, then there's a lot more scope. And that's how we started it, and got inspired by Rich Dad Poor Dad, as a lot of people in property already have, by Robert Kiyosaki,
Yeah.
and learned about this other way of life. Just not just being a job, having a job, being an employee, but about owning assets and making assets sweat, and that's how it all started.
Amazing. So once you'd kind of realized that this was going to be a bit more of a business than you first anticipated, did you take education? Did you reach out to a mentor, or did you just educate yourself?
Yeah, no, I did loads of courses actually. So in 2010, I took a sabbatical from work. I was in Logica back then doing my IT project management. I took a sabbatical for 12 months, and that's when I really got myself deep into education and networking, actually.
Mm.
So I literally used to go to at least 2 networking events a week.
Wow.
And I did, yeah, so quite a lot actually. And also, I was doing, I think I had about 3 or 4 weekend courses with various different educators at the time,
Okay.
learning about, buy-to-lets, HMOs, the models, the possibilities, the different ideas. And that's how I really sort of immersed myself into the world of education and networking.
Good. So you're a big advocate then, I guess, into education.
For 100%, I think. I think there's no two ways about it, especially in the market right now, or in any market really. It's ever changing,
Yeah.
Different strategies change, the economy changes, all
Yeah.
the external influences we've got with the war and everything else that's going around, inflation, all that. We need to be on top of that, and we need to understand in the market that we're in, what's the right strategy to? Where should we be taking making the most of the opportunities in the market right now in this space and time?
Yeah, and I think as well, adding on to that, education's super important, because then I feel you can make quicker informed decisions based on the current market and what's going on, as
Yeah,
opposed to being a bit back and forth and like, should I do this? Should I do that? And by the time you've made a decision, a year or two's gone by, and you're in a completely different market.
yes, exactly. I mean, a few people have asked me, do you think I should do flipping right now, like in 2023? And it's one of those things. That's not the market for it.
Mm.
It's just basic things like that. You understand, where you should be investing your time, effort, and money into.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we've bought our first couple of properties, we've been educated. What was the first deal you did through your legitimate property business then?
The first deal I did was a HMO, actually. So
Okay,
I dived right into it.
yeah,
And it was funny because it wasn't anything that the courses actually taught us. So, the courses that taught us about adding value.
mm,
And I'm all for it now, by the way. But at the time, my main reasons were that by the end of the sabbatical, effectively, I want to be able to replace my job income,
sure.
which is around about 2,500 to 3,000 pounds a month, net income. So I thought, well, I did the numbers and I thought 2 HMOs would do the trick. So this first HMO I bought was actually a 5-bedroom property. It was a semi-detached property in Bracknell. Bracknell at the time it didn't have that many HMOs, but it had a lot of employment. A lot of IT companies
Yeah, there's a lot of
had.
blue chip companies based in Bracknell, isn't there? Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, so that was what was attracted to me with Bracknell. The property prices were a lot less than Reading, which is the nearest sort of neighborhood town, but a lot more different because Reading had huge market of HMOs, a lot of students. It's also a student university town, but also, you've got the Thames Valley Park there,
Yeah.
you've got various other industrial parks, business parks. And so Bracknell, only 15 minutes down the road, was very diverse, a lot less, if lower values in property, not enough, but there was a demand.
Okay.
So, looking at the demand, all that, bought a 5-bedroom property, which didn't really quite need a lot of work, funnily enough. So I bought it for £305,000, but almost immediately I could convert it into a 6-bed HMO,
Okay.
just spending, maybe doing a bit of decoration. I think we did painting. That's all we did. And we divided, the living room was massive. It was like 30 feet long. It was really, really big.
Okay.
So
Like
we
a huge
convert,
one that ran the whole house.
yes. And so we just hived off a bit, and we still left a big living room in the house and a kitchen, but we hived off a little bit of space for a large double room. So that was my 6 bedrooms, 5 rooms on the first floor. And then we knew that there was some potential there because it had a massive garden. We thought, look, let's worry about that at a later stage. Let's run it as a HMO, get the experience, learn on the job, and get some money coming in, and see how it goes. And it had an integral garage to the property, so we thought, at the very least, we can convert the garage at some point. That would be a 7th room. So that was that to start with. So we did that, and I made, I think, about roughly 12 to 1,500 pounds net just on that one property alone. But I think there was a huge problem in that my money got sort of stayed. I couldn't pull out any money or refinance. So that was a bit of an issue. But that was my first deal, effectively.
Wow. Okay. And do you still have that today?
I still have that today, and I only recently, in 2019, we got planning permission to add another house to it, and we created another HMO, or 5-bedroom HMO, on the same plot.
Wow. Isn't that brilliant? So what was that? Almost 10 years later?
Yeah, 8, 9 years later. Yeah,
Just goes to show, doesn't it, that, property is really a long game.
it is,
You
isn't it?
Yeah, you can totally reap the awards at all stages. Yeah, fantastic. So tell us then, I guess HMO is your main focus and your main strategy.
Back then, yeah, not now, but yes, back then when I started out, and for a few years later as well. Yeah.
Okay, so what about now then? What are you up to?
So we've had a bit of a journey last 12 years in property. Started off with HMOs, as you know, then moved on to actually literally went into the deep end and started doing land deals and doing new
Okay,
builds.
okay,
So a massive difference from what I was doing. HMOs is a lot more straightforward, more easier to sort of do. But our first development deal was this bungalow in Reading. We found this on a large plot of land. It was on a road where similar bungalows in the past were converted into blocks of flats.
okay,
Um, so we saw an opportunity there, and we bought it just as a regular buy to let. But while we were going through the process of conveyancing, we put a pre-application in with the council for 9 apartments. That was going on in the background. We got a great positive response from the council. And although a pre-app is not legally binding by the council, they do give you a steer, and you do understand where they're coming from, and you kind of know, what that if you do have a chance of getting planning permission on it.
yeah,
So we sort of try and drag the conveyancing process a bit. We then got the pre-app response, which was fairly positive. There were bar one or two things. We bought that property, rented it out as a family let, as a 3-bed bungalow, and then went about getting planning and all of that. So, that was my sort of dive into the world of development, as it were.
okay, brilliant. And is that something that you're still focusing on today?
No, so we've done that for a few years, but the market today has changed a lot. As you know, new build construction costs have gone up a lot.
Mm,
So it's become almost impossible to make some of these deals stack. Land values also have gone up a lot, and landowners' expectations haven't moved very much. So
mm,
they're expecting that much for the land, whereas it's kind of working at this level and even lower down now because of the very, very high construction costs.
mm,
Um, on the other hand, GDV values, which is a gross domestic value, which is basically at the end of the project, what will all the accumulated units achieve? So whether those are flats, houses, whatever, those have also sort of staggered a little bit, or maybe stagnated, because the markets, obviously 2022 was great, but since sort of the late 2022, when interest rates and all that started going up, the property prices have kind of stagnated, if not dropped. So because
yeah.
of all those challenges, new builds have become very, very, very difficult. So our focus has been, in the last sort of couple of years, moved into more commercial properties.
Okay, okay. So commercial to turn into residential?
Yeah, commercial to mixed use, commercial to residential, shops and uppers, offices, and bank buildings are our main focus right in 2023.
Excellent. And are you looking in any particular areas for those type of deals?
Yes. So I always focus on like about 20 to 30-mile radius from where I am. So based in South Buckinghamshire, we focus on Berkshire, Hertfordshire, so that's Watford and St Albans and those sort of areas. On the other side, we have Oxfordshire. So we're just doing a deal in Henley right now. And then obviously I talked about Berkshire, so Reading, Bracknell, Maidenhead, all of those towns, M4 corridor effectively. And then then West London as well. So going up to Uxbridge, even up to Ealing on the sort of A40 corridor there. So it's around about sort of a 30-mile radius from where we are.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the HMO that won you the award. Firstly, congratulations, amazing achievement. If you'd like to explain to everybody what the deal was, maybe talk through the numbers a little bit, that would be fantastic.
Sure. So this was, I think, I'm trying to think the timings now. It was back in sort of May, June last year, probably, about May last year, 2020, 2021 actually, I think.
Oh, 2021, yeah. Yeah, it will have to be because if the award was 2022.
Yes, that's right.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yes. So one of our members, so I run a property event, and I can tell you a little bit about that later on, but he's an estate agent. And he came up to me and said, we've got this interesting corner plot in Slough, and that Slough is one of our main sort of areas for HMOs, and would you be interested in having a look? So obviously got there. It's a lovely, lovely plot, completely dilapidated. It's not a probate as such, but the old lady who was living in there was now incapacitated and in a care home. And they even have squatters living in the property as well. But it was a great semi-detached corner plot. And because of that, we thought there was potential to add value to the side of the property, maybe by like a side story, double story extension on the side, possibly another house on the side, depending on what the combinations were. We thought we'd look at options. We then, I think it was in the market for about 375 or 380. The estate agent said, I think there's a lot of interest on this property, but at 400, we can get it for you. So I immediately put an offer in for 400. He then accepted my offer and took it off the market. There was a very small, we had to, I think, complete within 6 weeks. And there was also a deadline about stamp duty. I can't remember, but I think it was the 31st of June, 2021, but there was a stamp duty holiday at the time. And we were going to save about 15,000, 20,000 in stamp, which is, quite fairly a substantial amount. So somehow we got the funds. I think we bridged it. And then I also had to get a joint venture partner in it. So between us, we then bought it. Once we bought it, we then applied for planning permission for a double-story extension on the side, creating we could create 7 rooms immediately. But we thought, look, sui generis, and generally councils don't like going in from a dwelling house, to a sui generis application. So we said, look, let's just do the permitted development route, which is the C3 to C4, which doesn't require planning, although the extension obviously did. So we immediately put the planning application for the double-story extension. We thought we'll do a 6-bed HMO to start with, operate as a 6-bed HMO, and then leave the 7th room as a second communal area for now, and then eventually apply for a 7-bed, which is what we did. So we, numbers-wise, we bought it for 400,000. We spent about 150,000, including the construction and the planning, all the drawings and what have you. And then we got it valued. We did a bridge to let deal on it. So when the valuer came in the front, he already told us what the valuation would stack as. So he said, at a 6-bed HMO, it was stacked at 600,000, and it was stacked at 700,000 for a 7th room. I think it was 675,000. So those numbers kind of worked for us. So let's say we put altogether 550 grand into the deal. We got it valued at 600. So we still have some equity left in the deal. But once we get the sui generis application, which is what we're going through right now. So currently we're putting in a application for certificate of lawful use. What that means is it legitimizes the HMO, and it says that it's a 6-bed HMO. And then once we've submitted that and we've got that certificate of lawful use, we'll then put in the sui generis application for the 7th room. And once we do that, then we'll be able to pull out all the funds. But what's really good about the deal also is all the rooms are achieving about 750 to 800 pounds rent. So it's roughly about 4,750 per month gross income. So it's roughly around 55 grand rental income. So that's really, really good money coming into, the business every month. And we've managed, the mortgage, I think, is about 3.79 or something percent. So the mortgage is roughly about £1,600 a month. So if you think about that, 4,800 minus 1,600, minus some bills, we're still netting around about 2.5 grand a month after costs, utilities and bills and cleaning bills and whatever. So it's a great good cash flowing property.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds brilliant. It's for everybody who might not understand the term sui generis, are you able to just explain what that means?
Yes, so sui generis is effectively when you go over 6 rooms. So up until 6 rooms HMO, it's permitted development. You don't need planning. Obviously, you would still need a license, but not a planning application. But anything over 6 rooms, you need to apply for planning permission to the council, and the change of use is called sui generis. And you would, like any other planning application, you would have to submit planning drawings, elevations, plans, floor plans, and then the council obviously would either grant you planning or not.
Fantastic, thank you. And I take it you got those interest rates before everything spiked.
Yes, phew. It was fixed.
Wow.
It was fixed for 5 years.
Wow, so you're at 3.79. You'd be double that now, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think they've come down slightly. So you're looking at anything between 5 to 5.5 now.
Okay, even with sui generis.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, great. Well, you take advantage of those 5 years.
Thank you very much.
So, do you have any other deals that you're going through at the moment?
Yes, we've got 3 other deals going through at the moment, actually. Well, they've already gone through. We already own them. We're still trying to get some paperwork sorted. So one of them is a bank in Henley. It's a bank building we bought. It's an ex-Lloyds bank. And we've just recently been awarded the permitted development rights to convert part of the ground floor into a 1-bedroom flat, the first floor into 2 flats, a 1-bed and a 2-bed, and keep a part of the ground floor as commercial. So we've just started the works on that, in fact, just this week. So that's going on, the construction phase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want the numbers on that one?
Yeah, go for it. That'd be great.
So we bought the bank building for 800,000. We are going to get, I think the 2 beds are probably going to value at about between 350 to 400,000 for the 2-bedroom flat, and the 1-bedroom between around 275 to 300. And then the commercial will probably value. We're converting it into an aesthetic clinic, so Botox and all the laser treatments and what have you. Will probably roughly value. I think the rent's going to be around 70 grand. It's going to value about 500,000. So I think GDV around 1.4, between 1.4 and 1.5 million.
Excellent. Really, really great deal. Wow. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, besides from property, I know how long and how time consuming the world of property investing can be. Do you feel like now, given the lifestyle and the life choices that you've made, you have control of your time and you have a much better lifestyle because of property?
100%. I've been on, I'm not meaning to show off or anything. I've been on almost 7 holidays or breaks in the last 10 months. So
Love
there
that.
is no way in hell I would have got the time off, firstly, in my
Yeah.
job. And, these haven't been, very elaborate or expensive holidays. But the fact that,
Hmm.
you've taken time off, I've traveled to, the places like, Dubai, Seville, different parts of Europe, the US. So, it's given me obviously the time freedom, the money freedom to do whatever it is that I thought it would give me. Obviously, as you said, it takes time. So I've been doing
Hmm.
property for over 12 years, and only now I feel that, we've got all the freedom we need in terms of money, but it's still a juggling act. Cash flow
Yeah.
is a huge issue right now with all the interest rates gone up, and there's been a couple of
Yeah.
properties that we haven't managed to fix up interest rates, so we're praying through the nose on that one. So,
Uh-huh.
there are challenges, there are issues, but I think the kind of freedom that property gives you, I don't think there's very many businesses that would do that. And and you kind of hit the nail on the head a few minutes ago. It doesn't feel like work, firstly, It feels like you're waking up every morning to a new adventure, new excitement, obviously challenges along the way. But,
Hmm.
it's your own, and it's a great journey. So I'm loving
Yeah.
every moment.
Great. I think, yeah, one of the most important things is just have a solution mindset as well, right? Because the life of a developer is just challenge after challenge after challenge. And if you can't provide a solution, I think that's when people get really quite bogged down with it all.
Yes, 100%. I think having a positive mindset and the can-do attitude is very, very important, especially right now in property, because government is making it really hard for landlords, and
Absolutely.
you're being literally hit. Almost it feels like, but from all different ends, and you just have to just take it with a pinch of salt and just crack on.
Yeah. So tell us then about the networking event that you briefly mentioned before.
So it's a personal passion of mine, actually. So, coming from IT, being in a team environment, being part of this big team, you were in a dynamic environment.
Hmm.
Uh, I just felt it was very lonely, into a
Yeah.
cubby little whole room, which my office room was very much smaller than where I'm based right now. But
Yeah.
it was quite lonely, and I'm more of a people's person as well. And I thought, you know what? Yeah, a lot of property people are one-man bands, and um, why not share information? Why not share experiences? Why not share your mistakes that you've made and what you've learned from with other people? And in 2016, I started out a networking event. At the time, it was called J6. It was based in Slough, but we didn't want to call it Slough because Slough has such a bad name. So we called it J6, which stands for Junction 6 of the M4, effectively. And that
Okay.
sort of started off in a little back room in a hotel with 12 people in the room in May 2016. It's coming up to our 7th year now in a couple of months. Now we've rebranded as Titans. We've moved it to a more upmarket venue in Gerrards Cross, down the road from here. And it's an event I really, really enjoy hosting. Don't get me wrong, it's really hard work as well. But now
Yeah.
we've reached that point where we've got an amazing community. We've got about 60 people as VIP members, sponsors, and we are a great community. We have fun. It's all about having fun together, growing together, and helping each other, grow as property developers.
Amazing. And where can people find that if they'd like to check it out or look for more information?
Just our website, teamtitans.co.uk.
Okay, great. So teamtitans.co.uk. Fantastic. And then just to kind of close out, what was your experience overall about the Property Investor Awards?
Oh, you know what? I was gutted because I wasn't actually live there. Romy, my husband, was there live to receive the award, and he FaceTimed to me because I was literally like, I literally couldn't think straight. I'd booked this holiday a while ago to, I think I was in Lisbon back then,
Hmm.
and I was gutted, literally. I wasn't there live, but my heart was there. I was there in spirit, and I
Yeah.
was so excited. I was literally jumping for joy where I was, and I was kind of I was really excited because, as you said, there's so many different applications from, across the country. A lot of very, very hardworking, smart developers apply for these awards. And in order to get, I was really chuffed. I was pleased and, humbled by it all.
Yeah, excellent. And do you think having an award like this or an accreditation is going to be beneficial and a positive thing for your business?
Oh, absolutely. It's like an endorsement, and it's
Mm,
telling people that, yeah, here is someone who's working hard, but is also striving for excellence, striving for, doing better, going up, scaling up, but also in a positive way and making a positive difference and a contribution to the property industry and the property market as it was. So I think it's definitely very beneficial to your brand, but also it's also yeah, it's confidence as well, right? It gives you confidence. You're on the right track. You're doing well. You're being recognized by your peers in the industry and people who've been there, done it before you. So it's
mm.
great.
Amazing.
It's very, very, yes, sure.
And what would you give as a little piece of advice to someone who's maybe thinking about starting off in property? Do you have any little words of wisdom that you'd give?
As I said earlier on in the event, I'd say definitely go to your local event. Go and find out who are the people in the area. So wherever you're trying to invest, so wherever your patch is, obviously learn about that patch, become the expert in that patch. Where are the opportunities? What are the property prices? And learn, get to know the agents in the area. More importantly, educate yourself and get to know other investors in the area and become the expert. Um,
Mm,
and become part of a networking group, a community. It's very, very important, I feel. In anything that you do, community is where you're going to be, surviving and thriving
yeah.
effectively. Become part of a trusted community, learn. Obviously, invest in education, and you can invest in various other things. Become Property Investor News. It's a great magazine. It's a publication actually. It's been running for many, many years. I hope you don't mind me saying that it's got a wealth of knowledge in the magazine as well. Go on to, now it's so easy, right? Go onto social media, connect with various people, become the expert, become an influencer by learning and then telling people about how good you are, and then that way obviously get investors on board and start the journey that way. But I'd say
Mm.
education, networking, and learning, becoming the expert.
I would agree. Networking for me has just changed my career over the last 2 years. And that was, again, stemming from what you said before about it being such a lonely industry. I'd come from a performing arts industry, was constantly around very big personalities and people who loved what they did, to all of a sudden trying to start my own business and figure out a totally different way of life. So networking for me definitely changed the game, or I think I'd have given up actually.
100%. I mean, I think
Yeah.
there's been times where you think, who do I go to? Who do I turn to? And
Yeah.
you don't want to always just be paying for a mentor because you don't know if that's the right person to give you the right advice. But in a group situation, in a community, there's always going to be someone who's either gone through it firsthand themselves or knows someone else who has.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. It's been really interesting getting to know you and your business and how everything started. It's very inspiring.
Very quick 30 minutes, isn't it? It didn't feel like it was just a great chat. Love talking to you. You've been
Yeah.
ever so kind and encouraging, and it's been great talking to you. So thank you, Elizabeth, for having me once again, and hope to see you soon at another opportunity somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for your time, Manny.
Take care. Bye now.
Take care.
Enjoy
Bye.
Marrakesh.
Thank you so much. Bye.